Manhattan with them. So every single square inch of that house was covered in something. And I would be staying there for all summer long, and there was enough art there to captivate me for at least another 5 years in that house. In their house, I had my own bedroom, and my own shower, and my own couch, and my own TV. All of these are huge commodities in New York. I mean, rent is so high that the starving artist typically gets a spot in a corner in some really trashy Harlem apartment, but I was staying in the East Village next to Union Square in essentially my own house for free. So I went to Ailey, and within the third day, Judith Jameson announced that she would be speaking to my summer session. And this was a really big deal. Judith Jameson was Ailey's #1 dancer and the artistic director of the company right now. And she hasn't spoken to a summer session in over 15 years. So this was a really big moment. And I wrote down every single word she ever said. And some of her words really impacted me. She spoke about how they're not looking for a million pirouettes or the perfect legs and the perfect feet. They were looking for a dancer who knew themselves and showed themselves as a person, not so much how amazing their technique was or where they studied. Her words really impacted me, and to this day I try to dance with more personality and not really worry about how better somebody else's technique is, just worry about how I dance as a person. So we had auditions for the Summer Sizzler, which was the end of summer performance, and I actually got casted in a piece by Richard Amaro, who worked with Miami City Ballet and was one of the original Tonys in West Side Story. The piece was called the Afro-Cuban Jazz Suite, and it's a really famous Latin jazz song, and we did the mambo to it, as well as a bunch of jazz and big jumps and leaps and lifts, and it was a really amazing piece to be in. So as Ailey went on, I made friends from all over the world. I have friends in Italy and Australia and Croatia and Japan and everywhere, and it's the most globalizing experience ever. I just could not be more thankful for that, because it gave me such a perspective as people outside of my culture, and you don't really get that all the time. So as the summer went on, I worked hard and was really improving in all my technique and growing and making even more friends, and a family friend back home connected me with a man called Brandon Frad, who was on the board of Complexions, and he invited me out to the Fire Island Dance Festival, which is a very prestigious dance festival, and Ailey too would be performing, Cedar Lake would be performing, Complexions would be performing, and all of these are easily my favorite dance companies, and if I could work for any one of those, it would be my ideal career. And Brandon Frad was actually having the cast party at his house after the show, so I got to meet all of these amazing dancers, and it really inspired me to work even harder so that one day I could be up there dancing on Fire Island to all these amazing spectators and really well-known people in the dance community. So when I went back to Ailey, I worked even harder, and before I knew it, it was the end of the summer, and I was really homesick, so I was ready to go home to Atlanta, but then all of a sudden, I remember on the last night, I was just overcome by grief. I just exploded in tears because all of a sudden I just didn't want to leave. I had grown so accustomed to the city and being in the rhythm of things, and I made so many good friends, and I would never see a lot of them again because a lot of them live all the way on the other side of the world, and it just was so surreal that this moment was coming to an end. And I had spent this entire summer in the most amazing city, and from that moment on, I know that I'm going to end up in New York. I have to. It's where I belong. My body was meant to be there, and so that's my goal as a dancer.